I'm doing pop culture, entertainment, things like that, and covering Marilyn Manson when I can and the case surrounding him. I got some court documents here, and I want to get into some points that I think are pretty important. One of those points is how some of these accusers said they couldn't remember the abuse until recently. Well, that's something that the court is going to have to dive into. You can't just go to court and say, well, I couldn't remember for like 10 years and now I do. We need to know why, and that's got to be explored, which is one of the main things I want to talk about here. But of course, let's get into the document as well and whatever else is there. Now, it's 36 pages, but I'm not going to read all of it, of course. I just picked out some parts I find interesting and want to get into now. All right, enough said, here we go. It begins. The court should order non-party Ashely Wars to comply with the subpoena served on her because it seeks relevant information proportional to the needs of the case, and defendant Brian Warner selected a reasonable production and deposition date more than 6 weeks out, a date which Ms. Walters' counsel selected to agree to. Nevertheless, Ms. Walters has now stated she will not attend her September 20th deposition or produce documents responsive to the subpoena's single document request. Ms. Walters frequently shifting objections, which at one time even asserted that the duly served civil non-government subpoena violated hers and others' Fourth Amendment rights, lack any merit. After extensive meet and confer efforts and reasonable delays by Ms. Walters, Mr. Warner now must ask the court to intervene. First, Ms. Walters' objections to the document request should be overruled, and the court should order her to produce the responsive documents without further delay because her communications with Ms. Bianco, Evan Rachel Wood, and Ashely Gore, aka Ilma Gore, concerning Mr. Warner are central to Mr. Warner's defenses in this action. Nearly all the women who simultaneously emerged in early 2021 with false allegations that Mr. Warner abused them 10 or more years earlier, including Ms. Walters and Ms. Bianco, claimed some form of repressed memory to circumvent their statute of limitations problems. And nearly all of them, including Ms. Walters and Ms. Bianco, claimed they could not remember or did not recognize the alleged abuse until late 2020 to early 2021 when they were brought together by Ms. Wood and Ms. Gore to share their stories with one another. That really sounds like shaky ground to me. I don't care whose side you're on. Come on. Let's just think about this for a second. They couldn't remember any of the abuse or anything meaningful until 2020 when they got together and discussed it. I know people hold things back, you forget things, but everyone forgets a mix of everything. I'm in my 40s now. I have memories of my life, as does everybody, but you've got to think about it sometimes to pull out certain memories. Everything to an extent is a suppressed memory. Everything to an extent is kind of forgotten until you recollect and think about it. So, like I was saying before, that's something that really, really deserves explaining. What Miss Bianco claims to remember about the alleged abuse and when she claims she was able to remember those things are issues central to Mr. Warner's defense. Mr. Warner is entitled to understand why she waited 10 plus years to file suit and the circumstances surrounding her decision to file. What's more, Mr. Warner is entitled to examine the extent to which Miss Bianco's recovered or uncovered memories were distorted by the highly suggestive conversations she had with Walters, Wood, and Gore. And I gotta say, exactly. Come on. Like, those conversations didn't influence certain things to be said or to be remembered, quote unquote. Miss Walters offers no bias to limit her production only to documents that mention Miss Bianco or the specific allegations in Miss Bianco's complaint. Specific's a great word. It's a legal word. We've got to get specific. We can't have these blurry allegations about things that kind of happened, maybe or maybe not, 10 years ago with no evidence. If that's the case, you could just call anybody an abuser, and I guess anybody could be guilty. The difference between someone who's guilty and not guilty is the evidence that occurs. It's the evidence that you have. Moreover, any privacy objections Ms. Walters has is already addressed by the existing protective order in this action, pursuant to which she may designate documents and testimony as appropriate. Second, Miss Walters' repeated attempts to limit and delay her deposition should be rejected and sanctions should be awarded as a result of her recent self-help remedy of unilaterally canceling the deposition. Miss Walters has provided no basis to refuse to answer questions that seek information beyond her knowledge of Miss Bianco's allegations. Rule 30 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure provides a limited number of reasons why a witness may refuse to answer questions, and a purported relevance objection is not one of them. Worse yet, she provided no explanation for calling off the deposition scheduled on the date she proposed, other than claiming she would not have enough time to collect and review documents, something for which she also failed to provide an explanation. Well, she said she had not enough time. There's an explanation. Anyone can give that explanation about anything. I didn't have enough time. Wow, that's easy. Mr. Warner has been forced to endlessly confer with Miss Walters, who has caused unjustified delay from early July to the present. There is no reason why a deposition subpoena with a single document request served in early August after weeks of emails among counsel remains outstanding. The court should order her to provide available dates and appear at a deposition within 14 days. I could not agree more. A lot of people, I think, get stuck on the emotional part. Oh my God, listen to these claims, look at Marilyn Manson, and that's like 95% of why they think that he did these things. But the facts are, the accusers don't have it all together. They don't seem very trustworthy. And what I've been going over here is just one of the reasons why. If this was a friendly debate or a friendly argument or something like that, I could say, don't remember, use excuses, we're just talking, it's just an argument about something. But if it's a legal thing like this, if you're actually accusing someone and affecting their livelihood and their reputation, you gotta have it all straight. You gotta have it all there. Anyway, let me know what you think down below. Gotta give a quick shout out to the Manson cases who sent me this. Really appreciate it. Like I said, there's more where that came from. And if you're not subscribed here, consider it. And if you don't consider it and don't subscribe, I'll be sad, but I'll get over it. Done here for now. See you next time.